This is Friday Film. It's a bit of a short one this week mainly because I didn't get myself organised. Well, that's it really. Well, that's not the film. I will talk a bit because I've been thinking about some of the stuff we've been doing over woke season. I thought what we need in woke season is another middle-aged white man telling us what we've been thinking about. So it's quite late. Well, for me. And so I thought I'd just put a few things out there for us to think about perhaps. And then hopefully we'll be back on track. I've arranged to hopefully catch up with Amy at some point. We're going to talk about climate change. And we're going to see where we go with the racism conversation and the best way of perhaps doing a short film on that. So far we've looked at LGBTQIA. We've looked at gender justice. We looked at another one as well. You know, I've lost track myself. Climate change. Refugees. Interestingly, refugees have been the one that's kicked off the most controversy. Some people have been quite put out. We gained our first troll on that one. Some people seem very angry about the whole thing. In fact, there's a fair chance that you might troll this message. So if you're trolling, nice to see you. Thanks. I'm glad you're still interested in what we have to say. It's nice. But in terms of the broader stuff, it's made me think about privilege. Now, sometimes, again, people get upset when the idea of privilege gets mentioned. But actually, we're all, particularly if we live in this part of the world, we're all privileged, aren't we? We've got heating, if we can afford it, and I know that has some controversy. Most of us have somewhere to live. There is a system, flawed as it is, that is meant to stop us falling through the gaps. And it does stop most people. Not everyone I know, and I know there are things that need addressing. But we are in a privileged part of the world. We have water if we need it. We have transport systems. We're not under nightly bombing attacks like some parts of the world that are just as developed as we are. So it is a privileged position to be in. And whether you take up the opportunity or not, education is there. There is work. Again, I know there are issues with those things, but some parts of the world, no hope of any of that. So we are in a privileged position. And in a sense, that's not our fault. Now, some people take offence that we might be saying, well, we're in a privileged position. There's no offence to be taken by that. It's just a fact. We are. But, and this is where the faith aspect comes in, or the responsible atheist part comes in. If we are in a privileged position, then we have power to change things. And looking at the woke agendas that we've been looking at, a lot of that is about the question with the woke stuff is where does the power sit? So if we take the issue around gender justice, for instance, the power sits, generally speaking, with the men, and historically that has been the case. Now there are going to be instances when that hasn't been the case, I understand that, but generally speaking, it's the men who made the rules. It's the men who told people what to do. And that's where the power sits. And where the power sits, people will make the rules up and the system up to suit themselves. So that's just the way it is. So with all of the areas around the woke stuff, the question I think we need to ask ourselves is, where is the power sit? Who benefits from this? So let's have a think about that while we pause. Yeah, so where does the power sit? That's my cat, in case you're wondering. And also, while we're here, it's not my birthday either. It's someone else's in the house. Anyway, I think my cat's going to sit here. That's where the power... Well, that's where the cat sits. Look, there he is. Come on, Chris, say hello. He's not very sociable. He just likes to sit in front of me when I'm trying to work. Anyway, so I think a key question when we're looking at particularly injustices, we ask the question, well, who's in charge? What do they gain from it? What are they trying to control? And that cuts across virtually all of these issues, doesn't it? It cuts across gender justice, cuts across race, cuts across climate change, cuts across the refugee situation. All of these things, who has the power? What do they want from it? And whichever side of the fence you sit on a lot of these issues, and the people that get angry about it and troll us, they're also questioning who's gaining from this. Where's the power? And I think the issue with the people that would disagree with our particular take is that we don't quite agree on where the power sits. So I suppose whatever angle you're coming from, that would be the question I would say to ask yourself. Who is set to gain from this? And certainly in the big picture. And I suppose, and wrapping it up, because this is quite a short talk, we'll do a longer one next time. I think really the question to ask is, who is setting us up against other people? And in one of the talks, maybe next time, I will talk about this idea of intersectionality, which I have found very intriguing. It's a very long word. So once I've learned how to spell it, I'll talk to you about what I think it means. But I think the question that you have is, when people say, well, look at you and what you haven't got, and then you blame someone over there for taking it, and then those two groups start fighting. Well, who benefits from that? And I think that really is the key question. Who is trying to set us at each other's throats? For instance, the pensioners who've lost their winter fuel allowance, that's an issue. The refugees coming in, that's an issue. They don't disagree with each other. They both need help. But someone is saying, look at these people. They're taken away from you. And they're not. That isn't the issue. Because the truth is a far bigger economic one. Now, don't troll me over this. Because it is a bigger economic question. Benefits, NHS, support for people, wars, road buildings, HS2s. You see, there's a big complex issue going on. And whilst we may disagree on what causes what, before you troll me, ask, who is it that's telling you to argue with people like me? Because actually we can work together for a solution, because I truly believe there's enough resources to help people. And when governments want to do something, they do it. You look at what happened through COVID. I know there's longer consequences for that. You look what happens when there's a war. Look what happens when their mates want a contract. If a government wants to do something, it will find the way to do it. So I think the truth isn't that this group of people that are in need are taking away from this group of people in need, or this group of people are trying to overpower that group. I don't think that's true at all. There will be bad people in every group of people, yes. But most people, we just want to live. We just want to get along. Most of us don't have our hearts set on global domination. So there you go. That's just a vague meandering for this Friday. Who's set to benefit? Who is telling us to be enemies? And for us as disciples of Jesus, well, who does Jesus tell us our enemies should be? That perhaps is the biggest question for us. And we will disagree with people who aren't of the same faith as us. We will disagree with people who do have the same faith as us. But who does Jesus say our enemies should be? And when we've answered that question, well, perhaps that's the time to start arguing amongst ourselves. But in the meantime, I think there's a lot to be said for us to start working together and seeing what we can do together to make this world a better place. Or in the words or the phrase of Jesus, what we can do together to bring in the kingdom of God. See you soon. Bye-bye.